I bought this shirt from Niagara Falls even though I live in Ontario, like, because that's how much I don't like shopping. I'm just like, oh, I'll buy this shirt for $10 because then I don't have to buy another shirt from somewhere else. Hello, welcome to Sound Fairy Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing two small single book reviews of two sequels. So I am reviewing the sequel to Chilling Effect, which is Prime Deceptions, and I'm reviewing the sequel to Trial of Lightning, which is Storm of Locusts. So if you've read either of these, if you've only read the first one of either of these, probably don't watch this. If you have read these, then here we go. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is Storm of Locusts by Rebecca Roanhorse. This came out in 2019. It's a sci-fi post-apocalyptic by Saga Press. I actually borrowed this book from my sister. I don't have it with me because I had to give it back to her. I will say though that I'm not sure why Saga is publishing this series with these like huge margins. Like the margins, like here's a different book, but like the margins in that book are like here, like they're massive. I don't know why, and the book's all floppy. Anyway, that was strange and awkward to me, and I wish I had it here to show you because I was like, what is this? That aside, as I said, this is a direct continuation of Trail of Lightning, or Trail of Lightning. Oh my god, I can't say it. Lightning. I'm just gonna call it Lightning. So this review contains spoilers as it pertains to the first book, so definitely don't watch this if you have any intention of reading book one. Okay, I absolutely adored Lightning. I adored it. I loved it. I gave it like 5 out of 5 stars. But Storm of Locusts felt a little flat for me. We learn more about how the world became post-apocalyptic and why how Denate, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, was spared. But the pacing is just so damn blisteringly fast in this book. Like, I felt like I couldn't catch my breath. Like, I just read it like a few days ago and I'm like, what happened in that book? It was too fast. I guess, and because it went so fast, I didn't feel as much intensity. You know, the fight scenes were still really good, and they were great, actually. I liked the dynamics of Maggie's team. You know, we're given two new characters, Ben, a teenage girl, and Aaron, which is this dude, as well as more time with this woman named Rissa, who was in the first book, but didn't get as much kind of page time. But we don't get enough kind of time with all of them to really understand them or understand the dynamic they have with Maggie. I understand they were on a time crunch trying to, you know, get to the villain, but a chapter or two to give them time to interact without fights going on would have helped it not feel so rushed. I think that is my main problem with the book. It's not even a problem that much. I still really enjoyed the book. It's just it just felt so fast. I also found the villain less interesting. You know, he only shows up once before the main showdown, which could have worked well if the story, again, hadn't moved so fast. You know, Maggie didn't spend any time in reflection in this book, unlike in book one. It also felt like the bond between Maggie and Kai in book one was muted in book two. I mean, I'm totally fine sideburning a romance to focus on female friendship, which this book did a bit, but it was all resolved too quickly for me. Like their relationship in book one was such an important part of the book for both of kind of their healing and learning to trust and things like that, that it kind of felt like, oh, okay, like in book two, and I don't know why that happened. Maybe because they didn't really interact. I also wish they'd spent more time in the post-apocalyptic world kind of outside of Danita. As given my love of the genre, I really wanted to see more of it. Like, I really wanted to see more post-apocalyptic stuff because, you know, as you know, from my own book, that's what I really love. It's right there. You can see it. Anyway, that's just me, though. That's just a preference thing on my part. I also don't think you can divorce the novel from the magical aspects or the gods, but where those felt like rare occurrences in book one, like really interesting, fascinating stuff based on like indigenous myths, this novel dove a bit harder into like the urban fantasy kind of part of it, which I'm not too fond of as a genre. I'm not super big on magic to begin with. So I was kind of like, okay, it feels like everybody has magic powers now, and I'm like, you know, that's kind of not as interesting. I much prefer the scenes at the auction than the final battle, I will say, and the final battle obviously didn't have nearly as much emotional resonance as the final battle in book one, which was fantastic with, you know, a betrayal and, you know, a sacrifice, things like that. The final battle in this one was just kind of like, okay. Okay. I still definitely enjoyed it though. This just felt like more of a critique than an actual review, but because I read it so fast, I didn't take any notes, you know. I will read book 3 and book 4 because apparently there's going to be 2 more. But this one just didn't hit as hard as book 1 for me, and maybe that was the problem. Maybe it's because, you know, it wasn't book 1. Anyway, yeah, if you've read Storm of Locusts, please let me know if you disagree with me. There's a lot of, was way more 5-star reviews on Goodreads than I was expecting, so yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was tired when I was reading it. I don't know. The second book I'm going to talk about is Prime Deceptions by Valerie Valdez, which came out in 2020, and it was a science fiction. I think it's from Harper. I can't remember. It's a space opera. I actually listened to the book on Audible. It's a sequel to Chilling Effect, which I reviewed earlier this year. I enjoyed this book just as much as the first, I would say, but I think I listened to it in chunks that were too small because I wasn't as enthralled with it as I was the first book. With the first book, I was painting my shed and painting my sister's house. Lots of painting going on. So I like listened to it in like 2 or 3 hour chunks at a time because it's a long book. Where this one, I listened to it over the course of like 2 months with like 20-minute chunks walking my dog or going to pick up my kid from school. So I think that being said, that it's like a me issue and not an issue of the book. Okay, so the characters from book 1 are back, and we're given a lot more exposition into their own backstory, specifically the character Pink. I don't believe in the first book we're told she's a trans woman, and I really liked how this aspect was of her wasn't a huge deal, that she mentions it in passing. It felt very normalized, and that's how I hope the future will be. There's a cute little romance between 2 of the other characters, which was blatantly obvious to me, but as usual, Ava is clueless, and I think that kind of just reiterates something from book 1, that she really does not pay attention to people around her, and I don't think that's, I think that's actually a characteristic of her and not like a flaw of the novel. It's definitely, I think we're supposed to pick up on this romance, and Ava's just like, I don't know what's going on. As such, you know, this book really built on what was already a good foundation in the other characters. There was the return of a few antagonists from book 1, but not too much that it felt heavy-handed, which was kind of fun. There were so many fun aspects of the novel, as well as emotionally deeper considerations. You know, Vikar's race job, taking him away from Ava, is like a sad part that kind of always lingered in the background. The part that Ava had to play in Guerrilla's history was interesting, and her relationship with Mari was a bit kind of more fleshed out. My favorite aspect was the very obvious jokes surrounding Pokemon. It was as much a reference as a solid plot point, which I can't imagine was hard to balance. You know, there were some kind of cheesy parts that I will admit made me smile in terms of referencing Pokemon. Okay, so when I was in grade 9, Pokemon the show first came out, and I absolutely adored it. I went and saw like the movie in theaters when I was like 15, yeah, because you know I was such a cool 15-year-old. But yeah, I still think it's really cute, and it's on Netflix, and I can't wait for my daughter to be old enough to kind of watch the original series. I never played any of the games though, other than, I mean, I think everyone played Pokemon Go for like at least 10 minutes. Yeah, I never played any of like the battling games on Game Boy because I was too old. I was like had a job. Anyway, yeah, I like Pokemon, so that I still like Pokemon. They're so cute. Oh, they're adorable. I love Jigglypuff. Anyway, I also really enjoyed the final scenes of this book. They were exciting and fun, as well as the bot fights and the Comic-Con planet. That was really cool too. Some aspects felt a little too drawn out though in the story. Ava's conflict on Guerrilla didn't really feel like that big of a deal to me. I mean, I'm not saying that she shouldn't feel conflicted or feel bad about what happened, but given she didn't know what she was doing, it's less of a hard-hitting issue, I found. Like, they really played it up more than it could have been. Likewise, there was some repetition of phrases and descriptions like the car sense or certain insults and stuff that were just getting a bit tired. Like, and there was a very long shopping scene that bored me, but I hate shopping. Like, I bought this shirt from Niagara Falls even though I live in Ontario, like, because that's how much I don't like shopping. I'm just like, oh, I'll buy this shirt for $10 because then I don't have to buy another shirt from somewhere else. Overall, my shirt aside, this is a solid sequel to the first book. I definitely enjoyed it. When the third book comes out, I think I'm going to read it rather than listen, though I think the narrative does do a fantastic job. I mean, unless I have another painting project coming up, then maybe I will download it if they have it on Audible, but I think I'm just going to buy it in paperback. Yeah, so that's it. Oh yeah, I do have one little thing to mention. So I assumed in book 1 that Vikar's licorice scent, which is what he kind of emanates to Ava a lot, and she didn't really know what it meant, and eventually she figures it out. I just assumed that it was like he had the hots for her. Like, I thought it was like an attraction scent, not like a love or deep care. We find out more, I guess we find out in book 2 that it's like more like, or maybe we were supposed to figure this out, but I maybe I missed it, but apparently it's like love, like he loves her, and I was like, oh, that gives a different tone to a lot of the scenes in book one, because I just thought he like had the hots for her, and licorice was like his way of like, you know, projecting that he was attracted to her, not that he like loved her. So bad on me for, you know, for thinking Vicar is just some horny alien and not like enthralled emotionally with her, even though we know that he is. Anyway, I think Vicar is really cute, and I'll end it there. So thanks for watching.